In our next Bible story about the children of Israel, I think one of the words that has cropped up a lot is the word complaining. There seemed to be complaining time and time and time again by a variety of people. Sometimes the people were totally punished. Sometimes the Lord forgave them and they weren't punished. But today there's more complaining going on. And this time the complaining happens to be by Aaron and Miriam. Now you remember those are Moses' sister and Moses' brother. And Miriam was 6 years older than Moses. And Aaron is 3 years older than Moses. Okay. So they complained against Moses, and it appears like they complained against him because of who he had married. And so they were kind of high and mighty, thinking that God, it's true that God had used, especially had used Aaron, but God had used them many times in their travels. And so now they're just thinking that they can say what they want to say. They can believe what they want to believe. And so they're complaining against Moses. And they're saying things, has God only spoken to Moses? Didn't he use us as well? And that is true that he did use them as well. However, God did not choose. Aaron and Miriam were not God's choice. God's choice was Moses. Remember, Aaron got to come along because Moses said he couldn't speak well. And so, but now they're kind of feeling like maybe people should be listening to us. And so God was not going, and Moses, he was always the humble man. He didn't go to God there. He didn't even go to them and go, what are you talking about? I didn't do this. I didn't do that. He just went to God. He said, they're complaining against me. I am not powerful. I know nothing about leading these people. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't even be able to do it at all. So, but to have unrest in the leadership is never a good thing. You never think about Mr. Hayek and Mr. Tabish arguing with each other. Well, I think we should do this. No, I think we should do that. No, I think, you never think about that. You think about these two men that are great leaders, but they work together. They don't work opposites. If you work opposite, you can't get anything done. So yes, do they believe different things? Perhaps they do. But they have learned to get along. They've learned to go with each other. Okay, I understand what you mean. So problems in the leadership was not going to be good. So God stepped in. God said, I want Miriam and Aaron to come before me at the tabernacle. Now remember, this is the curtain of the tabernacle. This is where the door is. Remember, the door was this purplish color, whereas the rest of the fences were white, linen. So Miriam and Aaron stepped before the Lord, and they all three came. But God said, I want Miriam and Aaron to step forward. And they did. And the presence of God filled that area. And God said, Moses is my servant. You are to listen to him. And none of us have ever been in the presence of God. And so the amount of fright inside one's heart probably can't even be explained. But when Miriam stepped back, she was white as snow because she was full of leprosy. And Aaron looked at her and thought, oh no, because leprosy was about as bad as the COVID-19. Once you had it, you had to isolate, you couldn't go anywhere, and it was worse than the fact that you never got over. At least in the COVID, you get over sooner or later, but not in this world of leprosy. Once you had it for life, and there was no cure. People didn't know how you got it. People didn't know how to take it away, and it had been a curse for thousands of years. Even when Jesus was here, it was a curse, this curse of leprosy. So Aaron looked at Miriam and just shook his head because There was nothing that they could do besides, leave Miriam in the desert to die. There was no cure, and and she couldn't be with anybody. And that's when Aaron asked Moses, pray to God. Would you pray? And Moses could have said, no, she's been so mean to me, I'm not going to pray for her. But no, Moses went before the Heavenly Father, and he asked for her healing. And the Lord healed her. And then the whole camp had to wait. The father says, okay, I'm taking the leprosy away. But there was a rule that you couldn't, she had to stay without. She had to stay outside the camp, meaning no other people, for 7 days. And so they had to wait for her. And I believe it was 7. They had to wait for her. That little, I'm going to see right here if it says 7. Here somewhere. Oh, there we are. Moses cried to the Lord, heal her now, O God, I pray. Don't let her be a leper. And God heard Moses' prayer and said that he would heal Miriam. But she still needed to be punished. She would have to be put out the camp for 7 days before she could be declared healed. So during those 7 days, all of the Israelites, like 2 million of them, had to wait for Miriam. And they couldn't move on. Now, let's turn to our Bible book, page 133. And the title, More Complaining. This lesson tells us how the Israelites again complained against Moses. Okay, let's see how we do. Did you listen well to the story? Who were 2 people who spoke and complained against Moses? Okay, they were Aaron and Miriam. Is that what you think? Good. So C and D. Who did God say was his faithful servant? E, Moses. Who left in anger? Aaron, D. Who became leprous because of sin? Miriam, letter C. Who asked Moses to forgive him? It was Aaron. Who prayed for healing? It was Moses. Who was sent outside the camp for 7 days until the leprosy was gone? And that was Miriam. And who had to wait for Miriam? All the people. Letter A. We've read that Moses was a humble and faithful man. Did he become angry with Aaron and Miriam? No. What did he do instead? He prayed for her. So the word is pray. That's what he did. Do you ever get your feelings hurt? Probably yes. Do others ever treat you wrongly? Probably yes. How should you learn to act when these things happen? Pray. And isn't that hard? Because lots of times we just want to get mad and we just want to get even with them. They hurt me, so I'm going to go back and they said this nasty thing. I'm going to go back and say this a bad thing about them. They didn't let me play the game, so the next time I'm playing, I'm not going to let them play my game. Okay, on and on it goes. Get back at the next guy. That is human nature. But that's not what Moses did. Moses forgave them. He forgave both Aaron and Miriam because they were talking against him. They were saying bad stuff about him. But he showed the love of God by praying for her deliverance of this horrible thing called leprosy. All right. Turn the page to page 134. You've got those 5 words to work in the blanks, and you don't need me for that part. You can do that. Aaron asked Moses to blank him. The name of Moses' sister, a dreadful disease of the skin, a humble and faithful man, and the name of Moses' brother. Okay, go ahead and finish that up. And if we had to learn a lesson from our Bible, stop complaining. You know, we can do it. Big people, little people, we can spend our lifetime with complaints about this and that. Sometimes big complaints and sometimes small complaints. But God says, no, stop complaining and start being thankful. Okay, that's all for now. Bye-bye.